Yeah.
Just now. Welcome to Artcasters. This is episode 348, and we're here with Gary Hodges and Joshua Kimmel and Scott Circland and myself. So, we some of us recently got together. That's what we're going to talk about today. Is the ups and downs of that kind of experience. My goal. I don't know what Scott's goal is. My goal is to try not to complain about too much and just focus on some of the good stuff. But it was I think a comedy of errors was what Scott described it as before.
Well, that was before we even met. The comedy of errors happened before we met, and it just continued.
Yeah. So
sounds like a new office setup.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was what you would expect. Anyway, so, but yeah, before we jump in, let's introduce ourselves. You can find my stuff at CoreyKerr.com, and I've got a newsletter there. I'm also on Mastodon, so if you would like to, not be manipulated by advertising, data mining, and have billionaires put their thumbs on the scale, come join me on an open source social network rather than everything else that's going on there. Scott, where can we find your stuff?
You can find my videos on my channel, and those videos also include my Making Comics 101 series. It'll teach you everything you need to know about making comics. It's a huge course. It's free. It's on my YouTube channel. It's just Circworks on YouTube. And also I've got on my website, circworks.com, I've got some digital products. But just heads up, hold off if you're thinking about getting them. Hold off because I'll probably be doing like a Black Friday sale or something coming up. So just be aware of this, or next week, and I'll be having usually have my biggest discount ever around that time. So if you don't have, or if you want to fill in some blanks in your collection of digital products, just hold on and check out circworks.com around Black Friday. It's that whole weekend. It's the Black Friday, it's the Cyber Monday, it's the Small Business Saturday, however they do it, just the whole thing. So
Nice.
And then just knowing Scott for several years, he will forget to turn that off.
Sometimes I do,
a little while.
So in January, you can still get that sale.
But you might get
Pretty
lucky.
great.
Josh, where can we find your stuff?
Love it. You can find let me see, this lovely book, Jacob's Apartment, which is a story about the character Jacob, who is struggling with an identity crisis of faith since his father was diagnosed with cancer, and meanwhile is falling for his roommate, who's questioning her belief system as well, because she just went through a breakup. And as they find themselves drawn closer and closer together, their dreams and reality start interweaving. And so there's dream characters that follow them from their childhood memories that sort of start interacting in a dream world. So it's about dreams, loss, love, and overall redemption. So it's a pretty interesting book. And talks a lot about theology and stuff. And my other book, so that's Jacob's Apartment, which you can get at bookstores everywhere, and you can go to your local library and ask that they carry it. And then there's Two Stories, which is my graphic novel about faith and mental illness. That's hand lettered, hand inked, and can be handed to you in print at on Amazon.com. Both of those are my books, and yeah, that's where you can find my stuff.
Cool. And Gary, where can we find your stuff?
You can find me here on YouTube under my name, Gary Hodges. You'll know you found me because the icon is a little cartoony dinosaur gobbling up an alien. And you can find me on Instagram under Dinosaurs versus Marsbots, Dinosaurs vs Marsbots. Through there, you can find links to all my things, including my Etsy shop, where you can now get copies of D vs. M 1975 and D vs. M 1997, sci-fi horror anthology series, weird, character-heavy, violent, a little scary, a little silly. That's all those things. I hadn't really thought about doing a Black Friday sale, but what a great idea, Scott Circland. So just maybe stay tuned for that.
Well, I invented it, so.
What's that?
I invented it.
That's true.
And then I'm hard at work on D vs. M 1979, which will be the third installment in the D vs. M series and
Nice.
should be available for ordering late in Q1 of 2023. So just a few short months from now.
That's awesome. And Gary, like, also we should mention to the people in the
thanks,
chats
Christopher.
that Gary, like, sometimes these books, I'm not kidding, this is not a sales pitch. Sometimes his books sell out super fast. So if you're curious to get a hold of copies, realize they're usually limited runs, and then like it might be a period of time before they're available again. So pay attention and get those books because they're good. We're all fans.
It's true. It does sound like a don't wait, move now thing, but
It really
I always
is.
I have not done a Kickstarter. I usually self-fund, so I scrape my ducats together and place an order for, you know, a batch of copies, and I sit and sell them for a little while. When they're out, it might be a while before I order more. It's just when I get motivated to scrape together more ducats. So there are still some in the Etsy shop. If you're interested, I would say check it out, or check it out next week after Thanksgiving. Maybe there'll be a sale. So
Nice.
So before we get into the topic, I want to answer a couple of Frank's got some questions.
Yeah, I was
So,
going to point out you have some
are there
questions.
any new digital products? No, I don't have. I've got tons of ideas, and I'm really anxious to create a new digital product, but I've just been super busy. So no.
And I
new
want to
digital
clarify,
products
he's
yet.
saying new digital projects, not nude digital
Yeah.
projects.
Well, you know, maybe those probably sell better as long as it's not me that's nude. But let's see, and then as
Don't
far
sell
as
yourself short, Scott.
Which reminds me of how this is skipping ahead, but how
Yeah.
Josh was with us in spirit when we all hung out. There was a lot of talk about new directions.
Oh,
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you hear it, you can't not.
Yeah. And then as far as number 5, yeah, I will eventually have digital copies and physical copies of number 5. I think I'm gonna have to order more because I miscalculated, and I probably only have like 3 extra copies after I ship the standard version, and I have a few extra. I'll put some of the variant copies up there, but they'll probably be at a premium, which variants typically are, just because there's so few of them left, and I don't plan on really reprinting them. But I'll have digital and physical copies available at some point, hopefully before, you know, the end of the year and everything. So, and some of the sketch covers too, the blank sketch covers. So
Nice.
Awesome. So so we've got we got Christopher and Frank and Keeman in the chats. We appreciate seeing everybody there. So yeah, recently Scott had mentioned a little while ago, he said he's going to be changing things up, and part of that changing things up, which stay tuned, I think that's going to be awesome, was kind of like a new studio. And I kind of just said, hey, I'd love to come down and, you know, help you set that up at some point. And so he took me up on it. So we went, and then Jim heard about me coming, and Gary jumped in, and unfortunately Josh was busy and couldn't make it. But so we had a big kind of get together at Scott's house at Circa de la Cirqueland, and it was fun. It was really fun. I will say this, which I think set the tone for me. Scott, you and Jen eat and cook like my in-laws do, which is a huge compliment, because I grew up in a home where food was there to make us not be hungry anymore. And you guys are like, I mean, it was like I felt like I was like dining on a like a really luxury cruise or something, because every once in a while somebody would just walk by with like a charcuterie board full of like cheese and crackers, and then there'd be like, you know, just this is the snack we're having before lunch, and I'm like, this is amazing. Yeah. Anyway, it was incredible. So
she felt really bad because she was not happy with the way the dinner turned out because of the pan that I had that was garbage. So, but I
I understood her frustrations with the pan, but I thought the dinner was great. But
thought so too.
I want to second what Corey said. At the like before dinner snack could have been dinner.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that
Well,
was
actually, the next day, that was our lunch. Was we had more of that, just
Yeah.
just the cheese and crackers and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah,
Yeah, it was great. So I just,
Awesome.
yeah.
I
So,
feel like, Scott, you need to have a cooking show.
yes.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's not too far off with this new. I mean, there may be a cooking here and there, something having to do with this new channel, because there's a couple of ideas that I had that may require some cook. I don't know. It's
really
well, yeah. I don't know how to say that without giving away what I'm doing, but there's
it's the methamphetamine episode, right?
Right.
It's definitely still an art channel. It's not a cooking channel, but there's some art that may have to do with food or something. So
I'm
nice.
just, Scott's gonna don the lab coat but shave his head and grow a goatee.
wow.
And that's the transition, is we're gonna go cooking in an RV in the middle of the desert. You're almost there. You're in the middle of the desert already. So
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
yeah. Anyway, so for me, that was a highlight. Was not making my own meals is always a favorite thing of mine, and then having them be incredible was good. And then also there were some people there that I like, I guess. So
Well, I hope you had a good time, because you were pretty frustrated, Corey. I mean,
Yeah.
it seemed like half the night when we were just downstairs hanging out, you were upstairs messing around with the computers and stuff.
Yeah.
And
okay,
So,
now I had a realization. I came with the wrong mindset. I showed up to like work. Like I was like consultant, laser focused working. And I recognized as I was like sitting there, I should have preloaded this. I am currently in snowboarding gear in my garage. I'm wearing bib overalls. It's like snow gear because it's gotten that cold. Or I actually filmed some of the things. There is a shot that looks like it's straight out of like war games, where there's just nothing but like DOS prompt text scrolling. I am not exaggerating that I was looking at that for over 6 hours when Gary and Jim showed up, and yeah, I was not in a good mood. Nothing had gone well.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you guys get this, but I was so laser focused on finishing this one thing, which should have been simple,
Yeah.
that I don't know how long you guys were downstairs, but I was just, I heard you guys laughing, and I was like, oh, I'm like that jerk that's like upstairs, just like secluded. And I didn't even want to be doing that at that point in time, but I had like, and then I realized I should go downstairs. But then I went downstairs to like, and there was the problem with what I was doing is every attempt was like, all right, I'm going to change this one piece of code, and then I have to wait 20 minutes to see if that works. And so I was downstairs, and I was still downstairs with my laptop off to the side, and like type some things, and then I could enjoy it for 20 minutes as I pretended like I wasn't still being frustrated with the thing.
yeah, because the thing is, because I should have tried to pull you away, and just let you know that it wasn't, it's not super important if everything doesn't go right, because just me having gone through, and Jen talked to you a little bit about some of the training and stuff, and some of the attitude you go with it, and I saw me before the training and you, and how frustrated you were getting, and I'm like, you know what, it'll be fine. At the very least, you come out here. I mean, it was kind of like a bummer that to start to kind of set this up for everyone. So we had planned to build this new computer, and
you guys, this is like for CircWorks. So
yeah. So building
we're
building the new studio, but I'm building this new computer. So I got just the same thing we did before, because Corey and I bought the same computer a while back, and we just got all the parts, and then we gave it to somebody to put it together. unfortunately this time none of the parts were like compatible for some reason. So at the, and I'm talking with my computer guy and like, oh, what can we do to get this thing, so I have it because I've got my friend flying down from Idaho who's going to help me with this. And they're saying, well, we can get it to you on Wednesday. I'm like, well, he's going to be gone by Wednesday. So, and it just ended up where there was just no way to do it. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm just like, okay, so what can we do? And then we're like, because we were already kind of planning on doing a what we thought was going to be a simple upgrade to the existing computer. And I'm like, well, we could do that, and that will make this computer powerful enough to do everything we want to do anyway. And then I can use the new computer over here where I'm sitting right now, because there's an area over here, and there's this new area. So we would we'll just switch the computers around. So that's what we went to do, this is an upgrade that Corey made to his own computer. Like I said, they were the same computers. He made this to his, and for some reason, we ran into nothing but problems. And like I said previously, my computer guy was like, this is just a comedy of errors because everything is going wrong that can go wrong, and then it just kind of continued throughout the weekend trying to get all this stuff set up. But I want to put a positive spin on this, that it's sort of, to me, it's sort of a lesson in like kind of perseverance and everything, because eventually we did get everything to work. I mean, there were still, some setbacks and things, but we got to hang out and have fun and everything. But I should have tried to pull Corey away and place more of the emphasis on having fun. And, even if we didn't get everything set up.
I figured it out eventually.
Yeah.
If anybody's interested, here's the rundown of day one. So if I have a chance to sleep in, I will. So I woke up, I don't know, around 9:30 or 10 or something. And I immediately was like, I'm going to do this simple thing that I've already done before. And then I'm going to go take a shower and get ready, and we'll get on with the day. It took me about 25 minutes when I did it on my own computer. So, that should be great. And all we're doing is taking a 250 gigabyte solid state drive and replacing it with a terabyte solid state drive. Now, in a Macintosh computer, that is about as simple as it gets. And for some reason, half the time, apparently, with a PC, it's no problem. And so I started and I did a perfect clone so that we didn't have to reinstall any of the software, put any software keys or anything. And it worked like magic in 19 minutes and 37 seconds. And I was like, great, this is wonderful. And then I just said, I should just check it. So I just checked it. And what had happened was it had copied all the partitions exactly. And so I now had a terabyte drive that was acting like a 250 gigabyte drive. And so I said, oh, no problem. Quick Google search to see what I should do. And then I spent the next 5 hours and 43 minutes or whatever it was trying to do that over and over and over again until, and what I was doing is I was using an open source piece of software to do the cloning, and it works just fine every time, except when I tried to expand the partitions. And anyway, I could go into that. It doesn't, whatever. So then I was like,
we call that section the Clone Wars section.
Yes. So, and that'll lead into that evening, actually. And then, so then I was like, okay, fine. And this is one of those things where, in hindsight, I should have done this at the very beginning, but I didn't. I said, Scott, we're going to have to pay for a little piece of software. It's really annoying, but it's like $30. And he's like, yeah, no problem. This is after I spent all day, like, and if you're a professional of any ilk and you can trade $30 for a day's work, you should definitely make that trade. Anyway.
But Corey, like you and I are very similar in the sense of the way we grew up and stuff, where we were kind of scrounging. It's like there's that inherently built-in thing of like, nah, I mean $30. I mean that's $30. I can just yeah.
My Nintendo currency, that is a full controller in the 80s.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, so he pulls the trigger on that, the paid version. Everything goes perfectly smoothly. I push the button, everything's great. And then I tried to fire it up. after waiting another 20 minutes. I tried to fire it up, and the paid version of the software corrupted both files. And so I'm sitting there. I'm like, I drove 250 miles to the airport, and I flew all the way across several states to delete my friend's effing hard drive. And that's why I didn't come down for dinner for a little while, is because as soon as Gary and Jim showed up was when I realized I have deleted Scott's entire computer. It doesn't exist anymore.
Well, in all fairness, this drive was so it was a very small drive, you know, so I didn't save a lot of stuff on that drive, but the software, like, you know, there was like my editing software and just basic stuff that when you download it saves it. So there wasn't anything super important on there.
It wasn't like all your lifetime's worth of photos.
Right.
You
That's
should
all,
play it
those are
up,
all
Scott,
saved to
and be like, other than my entire portfolio.
yeah.
A video of my first child being born.
Yeah, other than the only remaining pictures of my children.
Yeah.
So anyway, just to wrap up the woes portion. So the next morning, I was like, okay. So then I was like, okay, so I'm just going to use my Macintosh PowerBook, right? That dates me a little bit. MacBook Pro, I guess they call them now. The PowerBook, what was that in like 92 or something? Anyway, so I think they were like blue. Anyway, I was like, all right, I'll just use this to make a bootable drive. Okay, so I learned a lot of things. And one of them is that you can't, or at least I can't, figure out how to make a bootable Windows drive on a Macintosh computer. Blah, blah, blah. So the next morning, Scott and I drive to 6 different stores trying to find a physical media. Just give me a DVD or a stick that I can put in the thing, because the file is, or the drive is corrupted. So I can't get on the internet and download the operating system. At this point in time, I had given up on any like reverse engineering or forensic accounting where we're going to, or not accounting, but forensic data stuff where we go in and try to recover anything. I'm just like, whatever. So we're driving around and we go to like 6 different stores and then end up going back to the first store that we went to find the thing that they couldn't find the first time that we were there an hour ago. And we just stood there while this warehouse person was like, I was like, do you see this box? He's like, yes. I said, this box doesn't have anything in it, but I need the thing that's supposed to be in it. And on your website, it says that you have it in stock. And my guess is I'm supposed to take this box to the cashier and they are going to know what to do with it, but they don't. They send me back to you. And he's like, oh, normally I'd send you up to them. And anyway, so like, I don't know, 45 minutes later, they find the thumb drive. And I was like, okay, we got the thumb drive. This sucks. $130. That sucks, but let's do it. So now we're like $160 and a full day's work into this thing. And I take the thumb drive and I'm like, this will be great. I'm going to plug the thumb drive into the computer. I'm going to do the stuff and we'll be done. And then we can do the thing that I actually came here to do. So I plug that in. It's Windows 11. I want to say Scott's computer is very good. It's a high powered machine. I plug it in. Immediately, it doesn't even like boot up. There's like no BIOS. It just shows up with the screen that says, this computer can't run Windows 11. It's not strong enough. And I was like, oh, I'm going to murder you. And then I had taken it out of the package. And so we can't get returned anymore, even though it's not being used.
Yeah,
and
no, didn't use the code. I tried to return it. They wouldn't let me.
Use the key. So if anybody wants a brand new copy, unused, of Windows 11, Scott has a deal for you. And then here's the really frustrating part. I don't even know if Scott knows this part. I was just so frustrated that I leaned back in my chair and I just like spun around. And in the corner of the room is a PC laptop that I did not know existed. And I thought
they had 2 of them.
they're strewn about the house like hairpins in a female dorm. And I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. Yesterday morning, I could have made a bootable drive off of that. And so I made a bootable Windows 10 drive off of this PC laptop in about 15 seconds. And about 20 minutes later, we had everything up and running. And that could have happened at 10 a.m. on day 1. So it didn't. And I feel like a moron. Anyway, and then we got going and everything else was I want to say everything else was fine, but it wasn't. But that was the most annoying part of everything. I love how I started.
Probably around that time, Jim and I were having tacos. Just
Yes.
so you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, I think that's a good transition. I think Gary, you should now talk about the joyous times you were having
I feel
with Jim.
I
wanna
while
see-
I want
Corey
to hear
was
about the
in hell.
tacos.
I feel terrible because
I want to
my
tell a quick thing, and then I want to stop talking.
Okay.
sure.
I like how I started this entire stream by saying I'm not going to complain much, and we are 25 minutes.
25 minutes in,
Yeah.
and then the effing operating system. Yeah.
So it's kind of like every time I go into a meeting with like my boss's boss, my goal is to not say anything, and every single time I'm like, hold on, that's really dumb, and say something that just paints a target on my back. I just cannot avoid.
Keep
Anyway.
in mind, Corey, that I'm the one that spent all the money, and I'm the one sitting here laughing about all this.
I just want to say that I came home to this $200 microphone that I've been using for years, and it was just all of the lights on it were flashing indiscriminately. It's like dead, and I'm just like the hits keep coming. And
Do
then
you
now
have like a magnet attached to your body or something that's just causing electrical shortages?
it's possible. My son has croup and RSV now, and I'm just like, at some point in time, there is going to be the heavens will open and floodgates of blessings will pour from the skies into my home.
Is your house like on a old Indian burial
Yeah,
ground?
good
Or what
question.
is?
I mean, when I was laying my sprinklers, I did find a lot of really weird pets that had been buried there. So yeah, who knows?
See? Pet cemetery with an S.
Yeah.
There we go.
So, yeah. All right. Anyway, so sorry to interrupt, Gary. I was just closing out the portion. I was closing out the portion where Corey sucks and is tired of everything.
No,
Talking about-
when I showed up at Scott's and I got one look at your face, I could tell like, oh, that's not going well. Things are going poorly.
Yeah.
So Gary,
anyway,
tell us about your beautiful
tacos.
time. I want to hear it in flowery juxtaposition.
My version of it, my version
Yeah.
of the weekend. Our good buddy Jim Lujan. I met him for breakfast Saturday morning. We had pancakes, and I had
Not those hot cakes from McDonald's, I hope.
No, not hotcakes. And we went to Matt's Big Breakfast. Shout out to Matt's Big Breakfast, which is the best pancakes in Phoenix, in my opinion. I take my food suggestions very seriously.
I don't know if I can trust you with pancakes after the top 5, but
hot cakes are in a different category. It's like Jack in the Box tacos. It's a different.
They're
different
legally
thing.
not allowed to be called pancakes.
yeah.
Exactly. They're not even pancakes. Those are hot cakes. Different, whole different genre of cake. So
you were hanging out with one of your favorite animals of all time.
That's right. My
Jim
number
Lujan.
2 favorite animal, Jim
Yeah.
Lujan. Yes, I had a delicious Southwest scramble with jalapenos and chorizo, and it was wonderful. He got some pancakes. It was great. Nice conversation. We went to a coffee shop, a combination studio.
The second you mentioned chorizo, I wish I was there.
You would have loved it, Josh.
I took the burrito picture the next day just for you.
Yeah,
like, I
right.
mean, really,
Yeah.
it was like
That was cruel.
You missed out. You missed out. Next time. Next time.
Why didn't my story make you want to be there, Josh?
As enticing as that was, I mean, there was also breakfast burritos and tacos. But
Nice.
so then Jim and I we decided we wanted to go work for a little bit someplace. His only demand was like a cool place where I can plug in my laptop because he wanted to animate. And there was a place that had been on my radar for a while that I had never been. That's actually, I'm kicking myself, right down the street. It's called Brightside Studios. Weird name, but it's a combination cafe and art studio. You can rent space there, and they have easels and little spots where you can put up your work and everything. It is super, super, super cool. And he was just, it was love at first sight for him. He was like, I want to do like the screening for the next Jim Lujan movie here. Like I want to, like, he was so excited about this place. So
would that place be a good place to do a drink and draw, or?
Yes. Yeah. Cause they have a bar and they have food.
Okay.
It's great. And they have like a little art, like an art shop. You can buy art supplies.
Oh, cool.
It's great. It's a very cool place. It's on like, it's like 12th Street in Camelback.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, definitely, I would at least look it up, and we can talk more about it online. But I think it'd be a really strong candidate for a drink and draw. So we talked. Like he showed me his animation process in Flash, which I know he's told me that before, but it's still just a trip to look at it. It's like looking at, old clay pots in a museum of like, wow, like this is really what people used to use back then. Like, but he's actually doing it. I got to see a little glimpses of The Night Eats Its Own, which I'm very excited about. I think everyone should be too. Of course, everyone would be. Jim Lujan's brilliant and his stuff is great. But the little bit I saw, I can confidently say it'll probably be his best thing yet. And then I gave him a sneak preview of D vs. M 1979. I let him flip through the first 39 pages of it.
Oh my! No,
I know. I know.
Actually, I'm
and,
not, because I like surprises. So
yeah, me too.
I'd rather wait till it's
So well, and he controlled himself where he just did like this. He didn't read. Yeah. He just looked at the images. So he's like, I'm not going to read until it's done. So it's like, okay, that's
actually a weird thing about Jim. He actually doesn't know how to read. I just thought
that wasn't him being polite. That might be it, because when he told me he wasn't going to read until he got the final copy, a little tear rolled down his eye.
That's why, like every time you go out to eat with him, he's just like, "What's on the menu that you like?"
Yeah.
What's good here?
Yeah. You know what? It all makes sense now. It all makes sense.
Well, the monkey that follows. The
places. He wanted photos of landmarks. It was a little weird. I thought,
the monkey in the vest that he follows him around, actually reads for him. The monkey is literate, and he's not.
It's strange. He just said it was a emotional support monkey, and I believe.
Right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, not being literate at his age, is emotionally taxing.
It's embarrassing.
It's technically true.
It's painful. So we hung out there for a while. And then I left him there so I could go back and like just take a shower and get ready to journey out to Scott's. And then we reconvened there. Corey looked like he was kind of weighing like, if I burned this place down and killed everyone here, would anyone be able to identify me? Like, who's seen me here? Like, could I get away with it? Jen had put out this crazy, she was making all these little hors d'oeuvres from munching, which again could have been dinner. Like I was sitting there eating cheese and slime, like all these different things and having just having a great time. Scott made guacamole. It was awesome. My experience was great. And then we had a wonderful dinner and just talked most of the night. We recorded, people watched Scott's last video.
Yes.
Oh, did I miss it? It came out?
Yeah, I put it up yesterday. Yeah.
Yes.
Dang.
Yeah.
So which was very fun. A little lean one too. It's like 7 or 8 minutes or something.
Yeah, there's some good outtakes and stuff in there.
Some good outtakes, which I especially enjoy. I was hoping at the time when we were flubbing our lines, like, well, I hope there's outtakes.
Just to give everybody an idea, Gary and Jim recorded theirs that night. And then Scott said, "Do you want to record yours?"
Yeah.
I don't know that I have ever said this, but I said, I am too angry to be on camera.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Maybe later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim,
that was the first time anyone else has been in the underground. Well, technically not. There's an old video somewhere where we did an effect where we kind of beamed like a holographic image of Corey into the underground lair.
Yeah.
But really, that's technically the first time anyone else has been in it. And
I have to say, not only seeing the underground lair, but putting on the lab coat and sitting in it was actually one of the peak moments of the evening for me. Especially like having watched, your videos forever.
And
kind of great. Like the only analogy, and only Arizona people will really get this, but you have some equivalent wherever you are. it was like when I went on the Wallace and Ladmo show as a kid.
Yeah.
Wallace and Ladmo show was a kids show in here in the Phoenix area, where they had these hosts that were sort of like kind of like a Laurel and Hardy type or something, or Abbott and Costello kind of. But anyway, they would introduce cartoons. They would have kids on and give away prizes. Like, it was just like this little kids show. And you could draw, if you did a good enough drawing of one of the characters on the show getting having something horrible happen to him, Gerald. Arizona people will remember. You could win an appearance on the show. You could go up there and meet Wallace and Ladmo and get a Ladmo bag, which was full of candy and soda. Anyway, I remember as a kid, like, you watch the show and you love it, and then you go there and you see it, and it's like, oh my God, that's it. And then also you're seeing like how it is just a set. You know, you're like seeing around the back, and there's just like 2x4s and wires and all this stuff. Like, you can tell very much it's like a stage thing. That's a little bit like, it was that similar experience with the Underground Lair, where you're looking at it and it's like, oh my God, it's the Underground Lair. And it's like, it's this big. Like, it's this little, I mean, sorry, spoilers.
No, you can, no, it's
like,
fine. You can, because actually we're going to be retiring that anyway, so I'm not too worried about giving it. But you can describe what it actually is. I mean, I've mentioned it before, but
it's a walk-in closet. Yeah. I mean, and it is what you see in the videos is about the extent of it. Like, anything, if you panned that camera back at all, or up or down or left or right, you'd be seeing just like a door frame or a wall, or like, it's kind of amazing just to see, like. But I also, you know, you've done, and I'm not just saying this, like, you've done a really incredible job with it, because looking at the video, you don't get the impression like you're squatting in your closet like the Unabomber. Like, it really looks like, you know,
so
it
now
really
you
looks
guys
like a set, and the lighting is really good. And like, I mean, it's
Scott squatting like the Unabomber in his video,
just hunched over, you know, like, no, I mean, it looks exactly right. And you've got your desk there. It looks like, oh, there's a whole, this must be where he draws. And when you see it, you're like, there's no way you would draw in here, because it's
there's
big.
No air conditioning in there or anything. So, and there's really no power in there other than, you know, I rigged some lights up to there was a light fixture up there. So, you know, you get the little adapter thing where you can plug it in, so you can plug some lights in. But besides that, there's really no, you know, so I don't work in there at all. And it's even crazier now, because now that my girlfriend's moving in, you know, the closet because we had, it's basically, there's two walk-in closets. They're exactly the same on opposite ends of the bathroom. And, you know, I had to take out my clothes and stuff so she could have this walk-in closet. So, and my clothes are in like the closet, like another closet and other rooms and stuff. But like, I had all my comics in there. So now in addition to that, all my comics are stacked up on top of each other, and the same thing, just out of frame. Yeah. So it's crazy, you know, what it looks like. But
well, I won't spoil anything because I don't know, but the new setup that's a work in progress is not like that. It's incredible. It looks like a fully functional space, and it's going to be very awesome.
We're going to do some cool stuff. And I mean, Corey, I mean, really did. I mean, we've got the lights all hooked up, and we've got all the different cameras set up and all this kind of stuff. And there's like a billion wires that I got to figure out how to organize. But
cable management's going to be a little interesting.
But. And the desk actually moves around, and we're trying. I mean, it's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
But
so then we had dinner. It was
some of that
wonderful. And I now, correct me if I'm wrong, I might have brought up Andor. I'll admit that was my fault.
Oh my gosh, I still haven't seen the latest.
Which, by the way, the best Star Wars show of all time.
Yeah, I just watched.
I agree with you, Gary. I have since watched every episode other than this week's, and it's like The Wire meets Star Wars.
I saw another
brilliant.
A friend of mine made the same comparison. He's like, I had no idea I wanted The Wire in Star Wars, the Star Wars universe, but you know, now that I'm seeing it, that's exactly what I want. It's great. I mean, and I don't want to. I just very briefly, like, I'm just gaga over it right now. So we will probably circle back.
I do want to point out.
Going, and then Jim torpedoed us by saying, like, okay, everybody, we're going around name your favorite moment from every Star Wars movie, starting with episode 1, go. And like, so, I mean, 2 hours later, we're still like, going around talking about Star Wars. So that, and
I was
felt terrible.
describing.
Scott looked like a little kid late on Thanksgiving. Like he was like rubbing his eyes, and like, I was just like, oh no, this is going entirely too late. But like, I think that's Jim's fault, if I remember right.
I want to point two things out. One, Gary walked in the room and didn't even say hi. He just said, "I want to talk about Andor." That was like the first. So he didn't subtly bring that up.
I don't know if that's exactly correct, but that's at least what I was thinking in my head.
Right.
Yeah. That's.
And then two, I told my wife about that, and she said, "Oh no, they found out that you're like a Black Mirror fan of Star Wars." Like, I mean,
you're a different kind of Star Wars
inverse.
fan. That's what I realized about Corey.
Yeah, Corey has like an
huge
encyclopedic knowledge of Star Wars, actually.
But I'm like the opposite of what most people, because I don't actually like the movies that much.
He doesn't. He likes. I mean, now correct me if I'm wrong. Would you say, is Clone Wars like your favorite thing, or is it like just top 3? Like, what would you put as your favorite Star Wars media?
I mean, do I have to pick a piece of media, or are you just asking me my favorite?
Or like a property, like one little chunk, whether it's a show or a comic or whatever.
I don't know if I can, because I'm like pathologically incapable of saying my favorite anything. It's like, yeah. But I think the top 5
guest on the top 5 then, Corey.
Yeah.
You're not. This isn't a great top 5 audition. If you're like
top 5 ways to get out of saying what your favorite thing is. I could do that really well. But the thing that I love about Star Wars is the entirety of the universe and how much you can play with what's going on in there. And so I love the comics and the cartoons and the little animated shorts and the, and the side character. And I love that there's like, it has its own dedicated Wikipedia thing where people argue about, fighting styles. And I love all of that type of ancillary storytelling. But I will say, what I was not kicked out of the home, but I thought I was going to be when I expressed as a kid, because I'm younger. Josh and I, if Josh were there, he would have been with me because I'm slightly older than Josh by 7 seconds or something. And
you're a much older, aged, wise man. Yeah,
right, by a month. And but I was the youngest person in the room, so young in fact that actually I wasn't alive when Star Wars came out. And so everybody was like, oh yeah. And so my experience with Star Wars was more like Caravan of Courage and like fight. And so I actually thought for the first maybe 10 years of my life that the little furry teddy bear cannibals were the Star Wars movies, until I saw them as like a teenager. And I was like, where's the little androgynous blonde-haired kid, right? And so, and when I expressed that, no one was like, "Get out, you're done, you can't have an opinion anymore." So very welcoming crowd.
Well, that's good, because if I had been there, I think I would have expressed that.
Get out.
The Cary Grant gif where he's just like that. Yeah.
But to my credit, I do think of that group, I think if Chris had been there, he could probably talk me under the table as far as knowledge. But
Caligula?
Yeah. Of that group there, I think I probably know more random extra things outside of the movie, like the legends and the lore and the. I don't know. I've read more of the books.
I don't know. It's an interesting. I don't know.
That's what we need to do a top 5 of. Is not
what we need to do is a Star Wars trivia challenge. Like that's the thing.
I would lose it, even though I did grow up loving Star Wars, and I'm proud of the date I was born was the best Star Wars movie of all time. So yeah,
I'm hoping you're talking about 1980s Empire Strikes Back. Okay, right. There we go. All right, so. No, yeah, it was a little shocking when we were doing this exercise of favorite moment from each of the movies. And Corey on more than one occasion had to say, like, I don't remember which movie that is. Like that. I mean, that was my face, Josh, right there. That was, it's like, I don't even understand. I know that English that just came out of your mouth. I know that. I don't.
You understand my brain doesn't function normally, right? Like I can't. That's not just Star Wars. That I can't name the order of the months, all in one go. Like there's some things wrong with my head that kind of make that type of thing.
Well, you did describe at least one or two, serious accidents. So I don't know. I mean, maybe
I feel like I told some Corey almost died stories that some people hadn't heard before. So
new ones.
Yeah.
My goodness. So were those stories that have occurred from like between the time that we had a meetup, Corey, and then you guys had a meetup, or were these older?
No, it's such a common occurrence to me that they like something has to happen in the conversation to trigger like, I just remembered. I can't even remember which ones I told. I just remember thinking, I don't think Scott's heard that one before. I think Scott's heard most of them. So
we should specify these are previously unheard stories, not new as in he fell down the stairs on his way to dinner.
Thank you.
He was cutting his chicken and accidentally sliced his finger open. Like nothing like that.
Okay, that's good. So Corey like survived the computer setup without any disastrous consequences.
Only emotional trauma.
Yeah, physically I survived. Yeah.
Wow. So the Star Wars trivia happens.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Star Wars talk, a lot of talk about Andor, a lot of talk about it in relation to other Star Wars things.
Awesome.
And then I was calling it a night. I realized I was the only person who was a guest. Everyone else was staying there. So like, I was like, I could have.
We probably had room if you wanted to sleep. Could
have been a slumber party.
A rather heated discussion of whether Count Dooku is one of the stupidest characters that's ever been written or not. There were some people on both sides of that argument.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, because I'm fine with Count. I think Count Dooku is pretty cool. I don't know. Jim has a problem with his name.
I can see how you as a fancy white would enjoy the elite of the Sith.
As a bad guy, it's not like I'm like Count Dooku should have been the hero. I mean, like I just, he's a pretty good villain. He was an all right villain. I wanted more of him. I wanted him to be in Phantom Menace. I wanted him to last longer in Revenge of the Sith.
I watched Tales of the Jedi.
I have not watched that yet. I think I'm going to get all the way through Andor. I'm going to keep my palate clean, and then maybe I will watch Tales of the Jedi. But
yeah, I haven't seen Tales of the Jedi
yet.
Yeah, is it an animation? Like
it's animated and it's only like half-hour episodes. It's kind of like it's Clone Wars style, but it's just individual stories, like just from here to there. Some of them
it's kind of like when they came out with the Animatrix. There was like the anime shorts of the Matrix universe. It's like that.
They fill in a few things. They fill in some stuff like with Count Dooku and how he kind of turned to the dark side, and they, and there's some Ahsoka stuff in there, and it's interesting. It's worth watching. Yeah.
Oh, here's a good question from Christopher Runciman. He was saying, where does Scott park his Cirque-mobile and keep his giant nickel and Cirque boat?
Well, the Cirque-mobile actually is on loan with Corey because it's like the Cirque snowmobile where it's super cold over there. And
I don't know.
Corey's got all the snowmobile gear.
I am wearing
show off your
This is a full-on snow bib that I have under a down jacket, and I am
Corey.
I have a heater that is a foot away from me, directly on me, and I'm still pretty cold.
I feel like you need to start doing like survivalist videos and conspiratorial videos. Like now that you're doing them from the garage, just be like, you guys, the government does not want you to see this broadcast.
I'll do it while I'm like reloading my own brass ammo.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that was the gist of that evening. I kind of wish we got more Gary and Jim, but the next day I feel like was pretty fun. after I got everything installed, and I know Scott's going to do a big reveal, so I won't give anything away, but I will say, if you enjoy the quality of craftsmanship of his set, that's in the walk-in closet, this is like the difference between, I was about to make a Star Wars joke, but this is about the difference between the CG that kind of came out later, which is a significant improvement to some of the CG earlier. It's significantly better. Like it was really cool. I mean, the one downstairs is fun and it was great, but up close you can kind of see like, oh yeah, but I mean, you can't really see that on camera. But the one upstairs that he's like just finished making, it is a rad set. And it's like,
not done yet too either. So what you guys saw, and I told you that if you guys saw, it's not fully, there's still a lot of extra stuff that's going to go in there and everything.
And like I said, functional, like it's a workspace that you could use, and not trying to put you on the spot, but there's room for guests where your current setup, like it's pretty much room for you. Like that's it. But like the new one, you could have like a couple people there on camera, I would think. But.
Yeah. If there's if I need to bring in an expert or something, it's gonna. I'm not. Yeah. Once I kind of switch over to the new content, I'm not. I mean, and I talked to you guys about this. I don't know if I explained it to. I don't know if I mentioned it to anyone else, but there's always this. I guess this. I don't know how do I explain it? Like the whole idea of the underground lair and that it's a secret location, and in the beginning there was a whole lure around it, like I was trapped in there and I couldn't go out, so that's why you didn't see me venture out, and it really limited the stuff I can do, and with YouTube, what I realized is, most people, they just catch a video and you can't really explain because there was fun stuff I did, like I had the Vaculux.
Yeah.
If you remember that with the
where it shrinks down the mail, which is out of curiosity, how many like miniature little packages did you make for that thing?
I had quite a few. So
because I've noticed on videos, it'll be like pretty darned accurate.
Yeah.
Look the actual item. Yeah.
It was 1-to-1.
I didn't even show you guys that. I should have showed you guys that.
I didn't even think to ask, but I would have.
Yeah. Because if you open the little tube thing there, there's a tube inside, and you can see all the little packages and stuff in there. But all that stuff, it's fun, but it's just too hard to like explain. It's almost like everyone's comic, every comic is somebody's first comic type thing.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to have that attitude on YouTube. So I have to make it a little more easy to understand, just by like not have a bunch of lore surrounding it, but just like, oh, this is a cool set. It looks like a fun factory thing, and kind of leave it at that, and be a little more open to do other stuff. Like I said, if I want to do, if there's something that I want to do, like in the kitchen or something, I could do that too, or in the garage or something like that. So it'll have the stuff I'm planning on doing will have it'll just be a little bit broader, and I'll be a little more free to do different things, and even travel outside of the set and everything. So
that's awesome. And will it be like more comfortable for like live streaming as well?
Oh yeah. So I'll be able to do everything in the same room. So it's all basically this room over here. So right now, this is a little loft area. So I do my live stream here, and if I'm going to film a video, I go downstairs in the walk-in closet. So there's all this different, and then I'll draw on a different. I had an art desk over here, so there's like 3 different things. But now it's going to all be in the same space.
Consolidate.
So I'll be able to live stream in the same room, and I'll have a really cool kind of backdrop. Some of you guys may have seen that. I've if you're longtime viewers, you may have seen like the mural that I have in there with the superhero mural. So that's still going to be there, along with some other cool, sets and things like that. So it's awesome. It'll have a pretty cool backdrop for when I'm doing live streams and stuff like that. So,
Gary, do you second that, or do you think the backdrop's just he's lying?
It's a giant cardboard box. I don't know what he's talking about.
Wouldn't that be hilarious? All this hype and Corey coming down to set up.
It's a big refrigerator box that he drew on like underground layer. He wrote with a Sharpie.
Just and that's all it is. Fort. Yeah, for sure.
This is a great big con, everybody. Don't believe it. No, it looks great. And I was curious, is there like an ETA when the first, like the public will get the first glimpse of this?
Well, it'll definitely be, you know, sometime in the first of the year, next year. It's just a matter of, I think I've got it to a point where I can start filming some B-roll stuff in there, like hands-on, like table down, working on projects and things like that. But I want to get a number of videos finished in the can, because they're going to take a lot more time to produce, because I want to do some, you know, some better editing and stuff like that, not just me sitting there talking and stuff like that. So so that will you guys hear?
Yeah,
I did. I heard a bit of an echo.
Yeah, that's weird. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I want to get a few done and in the can before I start releasing them, and once I do that, then yeah, I mean, then they'll just come out on a regular basis and everything. So I'm anxious to do it, but I'm not like, I don't want to like rush it, as far as, you know, I want it to be great. So
yeah.
Why am I hearing feedback? That's weird.
Are you still hearing? Is it? I'll try and mute myself.
Okay, talk, Scott.
Hey, can you? Yeah, it might be Gary. I don't know. Are you
It's 100% Gary's fault.
It is Gary. Great job, Gary.
It's always my fault. How is it my fault? That's weird. Let me try.
I didn't do that before.
No.
Doesn't seem like
It's
it's
really
doing it now.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, I don't hear anything new.
Oh well, maybe it just needed to be cycled to mute or not. We'll see. Let me know if it happens again.
Yeah. I feel like if it does happen, Scott, you should start making strange race car style announcements, like a racetrack, so you get the echo.
Yeah. Sunday,
Take advantage.
Sunday. Oh man. So yeah,
That was awesome.
It was fun.
I mean, it sounds awesome for Gary.
I had a great time. I think Jim had a great time.
Yeah, I wish we could have had Jim on here too. You know,
yeah,
we were planning to have Jim on, but he's not feeling too great. So
yeah.
So then I don't know what happened. So tell me about that morning before. I eventually met Jim for like late breakfast, early lunch. Was there anything that morning that I missed?
Yeah, well, we hung. What were we talking about, Corey? We were kind of just hanging out in the kitchen talking. You know, after we got.
Oh, was that when Jim was telling all those like stories about grade school and bullies and stuff?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it was just Jim's story time.
That's
what happened that morning.
Jim's story time is pretty fun.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I told a couple of mine as well. What we found out is Jim, who is twice my size, probably he's got like 2 feet on me.
He's a big guy. Yeah.
He does not fight and does everything he can to not fight as a teenager and kid or whatever. Whereas I did get in a couple scraps. And so those are kind of some of the stories that we kind of told back and forth, which is.
I'm going to make a generalization. I don't know. I think smaller guys, maybe like you and me, Corey, end up having to fight more just because like no one's going to pick a fight with Jim.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean,
so true.
You know, I think the big guys can somehow like, you know, you imagine, but they're, you know, it's the little guys are the ones that end up having to scrape a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Having spent some time in Glasgow, I can attest that these smaller guys do get targeted.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you ever go into the mean streets of Scotland, be taller than me. That's my advice for traveling.
Be taller and carry a sword.
Right.
A sword, ideally. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So
where did you guys end up going for lunch then? When Jim left,
we went to. So I tried to. He told me when he came out, he's like, I want the best Mexican food in town, which is that's tough. I mean, when a California,
I don't know where I would take anyone, especially.
Yeah, I'm curious about this.
I mean, I know there's some good ones, but I don't know.
It's tough. Well, and there's tiers too.
Yeah.
Like, do you want like a sit down, like a nicer, like a restaurant, or do you want like hole in the wall? Do you want something more like street top? Like, what are you looking for? And he also wanted like, and I want the best tortillas. Like, and it's like, and this is like, and first of all, I grew up in Arizona. I feel some level of responsibility to represent. Like, especially when a California guy, especially when a Latino California guy comes to town, is like, show me the Mexican, like, it's like you don't want to just like, there's this great little place, you probably haven't heard of it, Taco Bell. Like you want to take him someplace. Okay. I took him to Tacos Saguaro. I always exaggerate it because it's Saguaro with an H. Which I think has the best street tacos I've ever had, and has what I really think is out of the park. Their beef cheek tacos, their cabeza tacos are very, very good. But anyway, but whatever you get there is solid. So I was like, well, I said, we're going to go to this place. And we showed up, but it was like 11 in the morning. And I think like a lot of us here, impossible to walk past a chorizo breakfast burrito. Like, even if you're at what are ostensibly the best street tacos in town, like you see a nice a breakfast burrito with like potatoes and cheese and trees. I mean, it's like, no, I gotta get that. So like, we just had a bunch of breakfast burritos.
Have you ever been to, not Barrio Queen, but I think there was before that, there's
Barrio Cafe.
Barrio Cafe, yeah, where they make the
Barrio Cafe is very good.
They make the guacamole at the table, and there's like pomegranate like seeds and stuff in it. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think hopefully next time that it's tough, especially me, you and I, like, we're both, I think, kind of foodies, and like when someone says like, I want to go to like these best places, you kind of wish they were here for 4 days so you could go to like a bunch of different, to show like, well, there's this, and then there's this level, and then if you want this kind of thing. And also, like, I think the best tortillas are at a different place than the best tacos, which is a different place than the best chimneys, so it's kind of like, well, so, but anyway, I took him there, and then we went to what I thought was the best place to get tortillas that was at least convenient. He had a long drive. I mean, he had to drive all the way back, so I didn't want to take him all the way down to South Phoenix or something, but I was like, in this area, I would say this place. So we went there, and he bought like 5 pounds of tortillas. he came out, and you can tell they were made with lard, because he was like, just feel this, and he puts them in my hand, and they're like heavy, and so saw them off. So for me, it was a totally nice weekend of Star Wars talk and food. It was great. Yeah,
nice.
Because I wasn't on the IT staff, so.
And but on what was on Sunday, right? Yeah, we basically pretty much got everything set up, didn't we, Corey?
I think so. I think the one thing that we haven't figured out is there's a little bit of a flicker. So
I did that. I got the new cord, and it seems like it works fine.
The cord saw the flicker.
Yeah.
So yeah. I will say that I don't have it turned on right now, but I am excited because Scott is the only other person that has ever listened to me when I say that you should have an Elgato Stream Deck on one side and a Blackmagic ATM or ATEM on the other side, an ATEM. And then you can do anything you want. It's so cool because you run that through. Yeah, Gary?
Am I the only person who has no effing idea?
No, I'm pretty much everyone doesn't know what you're talking about.
That was all. Those were made.
I'm still learning how to use all this stuff. So I'll be badgering Corey about, what did I do? How do I do this?
Let me see if I can do this without unplugging anything.
Yes,
he's going to matrix it like you're going to have it.
Oh yeah,
so this one is an Elgato Stream Deck.
Okay.
And I pushed one of the buttons. Every single one of those buttons is an LCD screen that can be programmed to do anything from a simple keystroke all the way to a very complex series of macros that involve launching different software and different things. And so, for example, something that comic book illustrators will be very familiar with, if I'm flatting, I will often use the magic wand to select outside of an ink area, right? And then I will invert that selection, reduce the selection by a couple pixels, fill that selection, or I'll invert the selection, reduce the selection, add a new layer, move that new layer underneath the inks, fill that with foreground color and deselect. And instead of doing every single one of those steps, I push a button. And it runs the Photoshop action, but then I can also have it so that it's smart enough because it's USB to where it will switch to my Photoshop profile when I open Photoshop, but when I switch over to Illustrator or switch over to After Effects, it switches over to my Illustrator or my After Effects profile. So that's the Elgato Stream Deck. The other one I can't lift up, but it is it's the Blackmagic ATEM, ATEM.
It's the ATEM sounds like something the Empire would put in Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. And it's pretty cool.
He has one with 15, but that's the one I have. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, and I've got that. I've got that one too as my portable, and I like that one a lot. And it also, this is a very specific use case for it, but because you can program anything into it. Hopefully, none of my students are watching this. I have typed on every project, I've typed very specific feedback since you're grading the same things over and over again. And people make this very similar mistakes over and over again. But I've typed it as if I'm typing it to them into each of these buttons. And so when I'm grading things, I'm like, value contrast problem, hierarchy issue. I go, and it types like 4 paragraphs for me. And, and then I'll go in and I'll give more specific view. Anyway, it's pretty cool. And Philip says there is a mini version with 6 buttons, which I think would be useful as well. But as I'm drawing, I'm using this, and so I usually will do drastically different sizes and brush or different changes in brush, and so I'll hit the left bracket or the right bracket like 3 times, because I'm working at like an 8,000 pixel. Kind of like document. And so I've just programmed one Elgato button to repeat that 3 times. And so I just, instead of hitting it 3 times, I hit that and it goes for me. And so if I hit it twice, it's 6 times or whatever. And so I can jump up or jump down. And anyway, all of that. The ATEM it takes anything that spits out an HDMI signal and it turns it into a webcam. But it's a full switcher. So it's what you used to have in that big giant desk in the newsrooms in the 80s and 90s, where they've got all this stuff. So for example, I can do all of this type of thing with my ATEM, and I am just switching back and forth from different kind of cheesy little mixes and fades and or a dip to black or white or something like that. And, but I'm doing that where I can have a multi-camera shoot or feed a phone or an iPad or another computer through the ATEM into OBS and then turn my virtual camera on from OBS and live stream from that. And so I can control with those 2 things. I can come in and I can have, all types of different little animations and things just kind of like turn on and like rotate through. And instead of doing it through OBS, I have a multi-camera shoot with one webcam input and then anything that I can launch, because the Elgato Stream Deck ties into OBS as a plugin. And so you can turn things on and off. You can transition, you can switch scenes. And you can kind of do all of those. Anyway, so, and I've been talking about this. I feel like most of the time I say anything, people's eyes glaze over like yours are all now, and they get really bored and they fall asleep.
No, not at all. No.
It is awesome.
But as soon as I said it, Scott was like, "That's rad," and he bought them. And so it was fun to get that kind of like set up, and kind of showed him like, here's some of the stuff that you could do and some of these types of things, because is kind of fun. So
that's awesome.
I'll just have to figure out how to do all that stuff. I mean, but
I'm gonna turn my virtual camera off and see if I can switch over to Yeah, so I can do like stuff like this. You know, where I've got probably way too much going on for this feed, but I've got like different animations running in different things. You can import anyway. So yeah, it's fun. Josh and I used to do all kinds of this type of thing where we'd have, all of this and whatever. But now I mainly just use it to do this. But anyway, it's fun because I can switch different camera angles, whatever. But I'm really excited because one of the ideas that Scott has talked about, which he has not announced publicly, is now technically capable in his new setup to be able to do multi-camera shoots. And the nice thing about it is editing is a lot easier because instead of recording on 4 different cameras, you have one stream. And if you're going to like cut to a different angle, like if I like Josh, you've got that setup where you've got a shot on your hand and then a shot on your face and then a screenshot of whatever. With the Elgato, you could have that, but then you could also push another button and it would make one of them bigger and all the the rest of them smaller, or it would have a different configuration, or just switch to one and switch to the other. And so if Scott's like drawing or doing something with his hands and he wants a shot from the side, that was the other thing that we did that probably is not as exciting, but there's a brand that I really like of, I don't know you would call that style of thing, but it's basically stuff that is used in photography and video to like build your own camera and kind of rigs and hold things. And anyway, it's called Camvate, Camvate.
Yeah, I
these little clamps.
I bought some new ones too. I bought a longer one, and then I bought sort of a big long one, like, and then I bought the thing for the web or for the phone, so the phone hooks in, and so it's pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
So it'll be really fun because in Scott's new studio, he'll have like a top-down shot, but then also you can go like right up next to his hands and a shot from the side, and then a wide shot, and then like a headshot. And he'll be able to just, with the Camvate, put that camera anywhere in the room, literally anywhere. And so you could get like a macro shot of if he's soldering something at really small or something, you get a macro shot of just that. But then hit a button, it'll be a wide shot where he's put like an old iPhone that he's using as a camera, like up in the corner of the room, that'll like shoot the whole scene and stuff. So I'm pretty excited because Scott's one of those people that you kind of like open a door for him and then it's going to get really creative really fast.
Yeah.
With stuff. So yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was cool. So the second day was much better. This is what I'm saying. We got to play with a lot of the toys and stuff, and it was cool. So
I wonder if we did get that, because it seems like we got it all kind of set up. I wonder if we did get it, like if we didn't go through all that back and forth and we got the computer hooked up and everything early on. I wonder what else we would have done, what else we would have accomplished.
I think I would have shown you a lot more of my kind of tips and tricks.
Yeah, probably more of a tutorial. Yeah.
Because I've either figured out or stolen a lot of cool stuff that you can do with live streaming and OBS and studio setups and stuff. And so
the only thing you guys will never have is the ability for Greenberg. Oh, I thought this was going to be Greenberg. It's
no.
It
looks like it's FDR.
It's Franklin Delano Roosevelt. My
wow.
goodness. Well, anyhow, those magical special effects. I know. It's going to be years till you guys get to that point.
Well, I'm not willing to pay the price that you paid.
It's like James Cameron, how he talking about how he couldn't make these new Avatar sequels because the technology hadn't caught up yet. So someday we'll catch up to that.
Someday.
Good stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're kind of we could keep kind of doing a rundown. The whole time, I'll tell you the whole time we're sitting in Scott's dining room, and we're doing this roundtable discussion that was a perfect top 5 episode, and we're not filming it. And I mentioned several times, I was like,
you did.
We could just go upstairs and like
broadcast.
a shot on each person, because that's another thing you could do with that setup is you have like a 2-up of half the table and a 2-up of the other half, but then one camera on one of the main speakers, another camera on the main speaker, and then a wide shot, and you could just go in and just live cut the whole thing, no editing, and it would look like a fully produced, like actual Hollywood like production show.
Well, maybe sometime we can try it again and get Josh down here too. And
Yeah,
there you go.
Cool.
Whole Artcasters with us all in the same room would be kind of cool.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah.
And if I ever get out of my garage, you guys can also come up here and do that.
I mean, you survive the winter, I guess. Yeah.
I'll tell you what'll happen is it'll be like an Encino Man situation. Like come April, somebody will be digging a pool and they'll find like a frozen Corey with a stylus in his hand.
Yeah.
Call you out. They'll ask for stories about what life was like in 2022.
The last live streams, you'll just see this fog like start.
I think getting all of us up in Idaho at the same time might be a little more difficult than having the one person, you, Corey, come down here, and then for Gary, who doesn't live too far away, to come down, and then for the California people to drive 6 hours.
Yeah. That could happen. It's not that bad of a drive.
No.
It's only
it wasn't. I forgot what Jim said it was. I mean, it's it's long, but it's not. It's very doable. I thought he said it was about just a little shy of 7 hours or something.
Yeah, about 6.5 hours. I mean, I've driven that so many times, because Jim.
So I mean, driving to Idaho is only like an additional 12 hours on top of that. So
basically another waking day. That's all.
If I do an Arizona trip, though, I want to have the drive at least allow for some stops at all those weird little like Americana type things that are on that road.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure dinosaur thing, and which now I think is pink and polka dots or something. Last time I saw it, they did some weird thing, painted it.
I forgot that's still out there. The dinosaurs, you can crawl in them. That was also in the Wiz or
was
the
it?
Wizard.
In the Wiz?
The Wizard.
Oh, I was going to say the Wiz took place in a not on Earth or
It was like
Wizard of
Oz or something.
Yeah.
Wizard, the movie that introduced the Power Glove.
Yes.
Never saw that one.
Yeah, I've never seen it either.
It has the dinosaurs too.
Oh, good stuff. Well,
I don't know, guys. That was pretty good recap.
Yeah,
I think speaking of Power Gloves, though, Scott, is there a way you can rig your new setup to a Power Glove?
Yeah,
you could just be like da 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 da. That would be amazing.
I mean, that feels like it should be an addition to the Underground Lair. A Power Glove that should be interesting.
Could be.
So if you could find, because I bet they have this, if you could find a USB version of a Power Glove, no, I'll tell you what you could do. Get the converter. Get the old NES controller to USB converter, and then you could map that as a keyboard to your PC.
I don't know if I could. Maybe you could.
Okay, Corey, when I start setting up my new studio, I want a Power Glove.
Okay, I will attempt not to erase your hard drive as well.
That's true.
In doing that. See, it's kind of like when you make a deal with a fairy creature. There's a cost. You get your wish.
Faustian bargains.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
But yeah, it's. I think you could do an easy way to do it. That should be in air quotes. You could set up a Raspberry Pi, and you could probably just do the whole thing through a Raspberry Pi. And I'll tell you something we didn't mention that Scott can do is he can control 4 different lighting setups from his phone, and just decide I want to have NOR lighting now, or I want to have a big spotlight, or I want to have it be focused over here, and just a click of his phone can do that. You can do it with your voice. There's some of those are kind of fun too, because we didn't talk about your grid, but you've got a whole grid on the ceiling, like a metal grid.
Yeah.
That he kind of rigged up, and so it would be kind of annoying to go up there and have to turn them on. And so we hooked them up all to Wi-Fi enabled switches. So and then mapped that to your phone. So that was. So I'm thinking of several things I accomplished. I'm
You're trying to list the successes,
right,
as opposed to.
Yeah. So yes.
Yeah.
So I burned a day of the trip, ruining everything, and then now he can turn lights on with his phone. So there's that.
That's pretty cool.
There you go.
Oh man, I hate to do this. I am freezing, and I have to go put my feet in some warm water now.
Yes.
Well, we're about to end, so yeah, let's wrap it up.
I'm gonna get frostbite. So, Gary, where can we find your stuff?
You can find my stuff on Instagram, Dinosaurs versus Marsbots, Dinosaurs vs Marsbots, or on YouTube under my name, Gary Hodges. I think the handle's actually Gary Hodges D versus DVSM, but if you search for Gary Hodges, you'll find me.
Love it.
And Josh, where can we find your stuff?
So you can find me Joshua Kemble on YouTube, and you can also go to your local bookstore or library and order Jacob's Apartment, which is a graphic novel in the vein of Ghost World. If you took Ghost World and Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind, put them in a blender, and you like that kind of flavor, it's that sort of doomed romance, dreams meeting reality and overlapping kind of slice of life goodness. So go get that. And then 2 Stories, which is my graphic novel about faith and mental illness. Those are my stuff.
And you can find my stuff at CoreyCurr.com if you want to sign up for my email newsletter and get notified and not be at the mercy of whether the algorithm wants to show you my stuff or not. Then you can go to CoreyCurr.com/email. And I rarely send out more than one a week, and so you won't get a ton of spam, but you will get some videos and some thoughts and some. Lately, it's been kind of like video essays on how different ways the world could be destroyed, which is what I'm working on right now. Where if all the bees die, that's what this one is. So if you're interested in that, then go to CoreyCurr.com, click on email.
There you go.
And Scott, where can we find your stuff?
You can find my stuff at circworks.com. Like I said, just keep an eye on that. Coming up next week, I'll be running some sales on my digital products. You can also find my videos, including Making Comics 101 series on YouTube on how to make comics. You can find all that on my YouTube channel at circworks.com. And this show that we do every single week, well, sometimes we actually had to skip one last week because we were planning this trip and everything. And I think we're going to have to skip next week because it's Thanksgiving, and usually I think we always kind of skip Thanksgiving week. Mm-hmm. But we'll be back after that. But if you want to know when we're going to be back, whose channel we're going to be on, because this rotates back and forth between Josh's channel and Corey's channel and myself, and whatever else, you'll if you join our mailing list, there's a link in the description of this video. Just join that, and you'll be alerted usually about 30 minutes before we go live. And we don't spam you or anything like that. We just send you a link so you know when to join us, because YouTube doesn't always let people know that. And it'll tell you basically what the topic's going to be, who the guest is going to be, and when we're going to go live. So definitely check that out and sign up for that mailing list if you aren't already on it. So
cool.
So I guess we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, have a good holiday, everybody.
Yeah.
Enjoy Thanksgiving, and
we'll catch you. I guess if you're in the U.S., not everyone celebrates it. I think Canada has some kind of a Thanksgiving. Probably not at the same time.
It's at a different time of the year.
Yeah.
Is it maple related? Is it
I think there is a maple related thing. We'd have to go to our expert on maple and ask Frank. I think.
Yeah. Frank, the honorary Canadian Frank. Maybe he can.
Well, you mentioned maple.
Yeah. He's wherever he is right now. He just what? Did somebody say?
It's like the bat signal.
Yeah, he just woke up out of a sound sleep. He's like, what?
I heard maple. I'm here.
Oh, Philip, our Canadian listener, said we had ours in October.
So and Christopher was in here. I don't know if he's still in there. He was in there earlier too. So
nice.
Yeah. Cool. All right, everybody. We will catch you in a couple weeks, and have some good holidays wherever you are.
All right.